Your heart's telling you to do something and you following through is an act of building your confidence. And that applies to everything that you do, every moment, about being your true self, taking the mask off, ending this game of I need to be like everyone else, and instead really stepping into your powers and owning who you are.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring the innovators, disruptors, and creators who are making things happen today. My name is Michael T. Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Tyler Kelly. We are in Miami at Venture Cafe. So Venture Cafe is the #1 largest gathering of entrepreneurs anywhere in the world. So we're very excited to be here in Miami tonight, and we are very excited to have Heather Monahan with us tonight. Thanks for being here.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
For those of you that don't know Heather, Heather has reached the C-suite in media with over 20 years of successful leadership experience, and then she was fired. She's the founder of Boss and Heels. She's a social media influencer, keynote speaker, Glass Ceiling Award recipient, and author of Confidence Creator. And this will be the one time that I put it into the camera. Look at that. This book has been out about 3 weeks,
Yes.
and it's already #1 in many places. So tell us about all that.
It's crazy. So I was in corporate America forever, just, sales started my path, and then I wanted to advance and, take the next level. And I was an equity partner in my 20s, and then I got into a big company, and I started out as a local leader, moved to VP of the company, then executive vice president, then chief revenue officer. I was there 14 years, and over that time won a lot of awards and really had found my stride and felt really good about the work I was doing. And during that time, I decided, I grew up without much. And so I thought, this is the moment I need to pivot and give back a little bit. I was doing charity work, but this was something special to me. I wanted to create a site, a community for people, regardless if they have wealth or not, they can access the information, basically what you need to do to get ahead, to feel good about yourself, to take care of yourself. All the things I didn't know when I was younger and that I struggled with over, 3 decades in my life, I really wanted to put it out there because, in my opinion, they don't teach this stuff in school, yet it's super powerful. So I leaned into creating this community, and at work, it was definitely not appreciated. It was something unique and different. And anytime you do something unique and different, the haters are going to come. Mm-hmm. That's basically what happened.
And so all of a sudden, out of the blue, after investing 14 years, they just let you go.
So there was one CEO, the founder, who had been there for 50 years when I was at the company, and he became ill. So when he elevated his daughter to CEO, interim CEO, the tough times really began for me, and it became very stressful every day. And those were those moments that I had to say, do I continue doing something on the side in my personal life that isn't problematic? It's trying to give back and help, but it's causing me major friction, major problems at work. And I struggled. There was plenty of nights I cried at home and didn't sleep and didn't know what to do. But the more I would think about it, the more I thought of all the years of my career I've been harassed, felt bad about myself, been put down. And I thought, no, I'm old enough now. I've got enough knowledge and experience. I'm not backing down. And that's when I began having the conversation saying basically, no, I'm not taking the website down, and I don't agree with you. And those moments were major confidence building moments that led me to, she eventually got CEO of the company. She eventually fired me, and she got rid of the position. But the bottom line is I was shocked. I had always seen myself on that trajectory, and the next move for me was CEO, and that's just the box I lived in. So when that moment came, and that was August 1st, just not even a year ago, I sat there crying, freaking out, feeling terrible about myself. And my fiance said to me, why don't you write right now, just because sometimes I'll journal and whatnot throughout my life. And I said, good idea, I'm going to do that. And I was writing feverishly. I had so much to say because I was so emotional. And over those next couple of days, I started to separate slowly from the emotion. I decided to put it out on social media that I had been fired. People told me I was crazy, and I asked for help. I basically said, hey, past few days have been really hard. I got fired. I've never been fired before. I'm really struggling. And if I've ever touched your life in a positive way, I just wanted to say, I'm going to miss you. I appreciate hearing from you. Thank you. And I received 100,000 responses. People just really wanting to help, share their story of getting fired and how it turned out well for them. And those moments of people caring about you and jumping in to support you really elevated me.
And out of that experience came this book?
Well, so I started writing, but I didn't know, it's so important people know this. In that moment and back in August, I didn't know it was Confidence Creator. I didn't know the book would do well. I didn't know I could write a book. I knew I was good over here in this space in corporate America, but can that translate to success as an author? You don't know. So those were the moments I really tested my confidence and said, can I move forward? And some days I didn't think I could. And then other days I'd go back to writing. And then I'd take a step and let people start knowing what I was doing, which is a big confidence builder because you're claiming something that you have in your mind and you're putting it out to the world. So I'd build confidence, and then haters would start coming and I'd back down a little. So it was a cycle that went on for months until I built up enough momentum and really started to shape what was happening to see that potential. And when that started to happen, and I eventually tapped an editor. Anytime you tap a mentor or an expert, you can advance so quickly. And when he sent me the rough draft of my book, I said, oh, I'm not going back. I'm all in. And that's what happened.
So you talked about a moment of asking for help, and I know that's a challenge for a lot of us. So tell us what that was like, because I know a lot of us are afraid to ask for help, like we have to do it all ourselves.
I felt 100% the same way. But what I've learned over time is, and I liken it to dating, right? So these dating sites do so well because people need to let other people know I'm single. So I use that analogy in my mind. No one knows I've been fired. No one knows I'm sitting on my couch under a weighted blanket drinking Chardonnay all night. So I need to tell them, because if I put myself out there, they're going to come help me. And it was that analogy really with that dating website, and you hear so many success stories, people are going to find the love of their life. Great. Well, I need to find that opportunity I'm pursuing. So until I let people know, I was alone, other than, of course, my family and closest friends knew, but I needed to put it out there. And people told me I was crazy because it's so out of the box. It was the single best thing and catalyst to me starting to get out of that negative situation that I did.
Yeah. So Boss and Heels, that existed prior to this moment.
Yes.
Obviously, you had a vision for Boss and Heels even before that moment. So tell me about the process of coming up with that, how that all started, how it progressed to what it is today.
When I was younger, I didn't have a lot, and I thought people like me sat over here in this lane, and you just do the best you can and get by in life. And then there were people over here that were born confident and beautiful and successful, and that was their lane. And as I grew older and more experienced, really I started to understand this in my 20s and 30s. I understood you create the life that you have. If you're given one thing in birth, that's fine. But you can create whatever you want from there. Just as much as someone successful who gives birth to a child, that child could downward spiral. It's up to you what you do with the life. So I really started to embrace that, accept responsibility for myself, and that's when I took off in my career in business. And my key and strategy was only this: I will just outwork everyone. And so I would lean into work because I never wanted to be poor again. And it was a driving factor for me, and it worked. I was lucky enough that I got into a business because other people would say, I think you'll be good at sales. Okay, I guess I've always been selling. I bartended, I waitressed, I had a paper route. I was always selling me. And I got into sales. It took off. I did very well with it. Fast forward till I'm a CRO of a media company and I'm doing very well. And I just thought, there are these moments where you're looking around and saying, I have a child and and he's blessed to have everything he has. But in my opinion, what he's blessed most to have is to me say to him, you know what, I don't care if you lose the presidential election at school. I want you to get up on that stage and go for it, because it's a failure if you don't get up. It's no failure if you don't win the actual election. And when I see you up there, I see your spark and your superpower, and that's what this is all about. I think to myself, the charity work I do and the kids I see, and they don't have a mentor, a parent that has that opportunity because maybe they weren't given it, whatever the challenge. And I just thought more and more, through that time, I've got to just pull this curtain back and let everyone know the same things my child gets to know, your children get to know, and not even just kids, other human beings that I see out there right now, walking around that have their head down because they're afraid to look up. And I just want everyone to know that we are all the same. We all have those same struggles. And I really put that into Boston Heals. It's about pulling that curtain back and sharing the information that I've learned.
So did you have people early on, you talked about mentors and things like that. Did you have people that were kind of an inspiration for you when you talked about the idea that you can create your own path, your reality?
There are so many people in my life that have showed up at different times in my life, but and there's people that I really look to for business or personal relationships or whatnot. But there was a man who's a vendor of mine about a decade ago, and we were sitting down for a business meeting, and I'm very serious when I'm working. And he said to me, "Can you just stop for a minute?" And I said, "What is it?" He said, "What's the rest of your life look like?" I said, "What are you talking about? I'll be killing it and I'm working so hard." And he said, "No, that's not what I'm asking you." And he was 20 years my senior, and he said, "Gosh, it drives me nuts about you. You just grind in the day-to-day and you never take a step back and look at the big picture." And that epiphany moment for me, he challenged me. He said, "I challenge you right now. What are you going to do to take that step back and create something more meaningful for you in your real life, your real passion?" He said, "Because yeah, you're great at your job, but so what? That's a paycheck." And for whatever reason, he connected with me. I could hear him. I don't know. It was a great conversation. And that started me down a path of charity work and joining City Year Miami and eventually getting on the board for them, and then hosting speaking engagements and hosting lunches and really going all in. And that taught me things that I cared about in a different way. And that evolution really came from, that's one conversation I remember was very impactful.
So in the book, you talk about how confidence is learned.
It's not given, that is for sure.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so
where does it come from?
Well, we create it. And, Confidence Creator is all about you being your own creator of your confidence. So in any moment, you can be building your confidence or chipping away at it. And I'm out at Venture Cafe and I'm noticing people wanting to talk to someone, but they hesitate. But then I see someone walk up and say, "Hi, I'm so-and-so." The person that actually goes through with it, it doesn't matter if the other person walks away. It's all about you doing what your heart's telling you to do something, and you following through is an act of building your confidence. And that applies to everything that you do, every moment, about being your true self, taking the mask off, ending this game of I need to be like everyone else, and instead really stepping into your powers and owning who you are. Because when that happens, it is mind-blowing the way that everything around you changes, and dropping negative people from your life. I call it firing villains. Just creating space from the negative people that might try to be pulling you down, and instead aligning yourself with people that not only care about you, but want to stretch you. Like that mentor that challenged me. "Hey, great, you got a nice life, but go to the next level. This is just a waste sitting here." And now I surround myself with those people that say, "Okay, this was good, but what are you going to do next? And how can you make it more meaningful? And how can you, create something even more special and real?" And it really changes your life when you take these very specific steps and prop yourself up. And my son has been a great teacher in this whole thing. One day he had a basketball game. He came out at 6 a.m. and said to me, "Mom, can you write on my shoes for me?" And I thought, this kid is nuts. We're late, the regular grind of our life. What am I writing? "I can do all things." And I said, "Why am I writing this?" And he said, "Not everyone is confident in every moment, Mom. And today, if I'm on the court and I'm having a moment where I don't feel my best, I want to remind myself I really can do all things." And he got that from Steph Curry, seeing that Steph Curry had done that in a game. And it was so cool to me, and it taught me a lesson. I can give myself reminders too. When I am in a good mindset, why don't I leave myself reminders different places so that if I'm not having a great moment, not having the best day, I can remember, oh yeah, I wrote that. And yes, I can do this.
So you mentioned following your heart, and the more that you follow that internal guidance, the more you see that it's relevant. So it gives you confidence in doing it again and again and again.
Sure.
Tell me more about that.
So for me, that experience is writing the book. So I was in this lane over here in corporate America, and I was going to make this massive jump to be an author, which in my mind, I have no business being an author. I didn't go to school for English literature and win awards in school for writing. I was the social person, and that's what I did. And I did well in selling. It made sense. So how can you fight that, mentally? Well, I started taking small steps, and I write a lot about baby steps because I didn't become an author that's on the Amazon's number one list overnight. It took a tremendous amount of baby steps along the way to get the confidence to get here. And each step would take me to something further that would start connecting dots, but I didn't know a week before that was happening. And the greatest example of this is so crazy, is, through this whole process, I've tested my own confidence. Can I really do this? Haters have come out and told me not to. You'll be sued. It's going to be crap. No one's going to buy it. And literally, people very close to me, because their own limitations and fears, they're projecting onto you. And in many moments, I take them on and I think, oh my God, they're right. I'm not a writer. This is ridiculous. I've never written a book. I should start with a baby book. So in those moments, I have to go back and remind myself, hey, Heather, go to your journal, see what you've overcome before, gain some strength here. Let's remind ourselves who we are and what we're capable of. And let's think about this. If I really believe in it and I can reach one person, then my job is done. It might not be, making millions of dollars, but that's okay. I had a drive and a purpose and a feeling about it. If I move forward, I'm going to build my confidence. And I do feel confident I can reach at least one person. So I lower those expectations, I re-engage again, and I get back at, the book. Fast forward to, I was at Maria Menounos's podcast last week in LA, and she does it at her home. And I went there, and she was gracious and wonderful, and she had read the book. And she had all these notes, and she endorsed the book, and she posted on Instagram about, it's like all that you think, oh my God, I would wish something like that, it all happens. At the end, she says to me, and I'm in shock, because remember, I'm not an author. I'm this corporate America person trying so hard to make a pivot. And it's working and connecting, and I'm blown away, and it's all just happening. This good is happening, and I didn't know that was going to happen August 1st when I was sitting under the weighted blanket. So to me, it's so special and meaningful. And it really reminds me, moving forward with your inner heart and your light and your voice will pay dividends every flipping time you do it. So she says to me at the end, what can I do to help you? I'm a fan of the book and I want the book to work. How can I help? And I have a mantra, and it's in the book. When someone asks you how they can help, ask for one thing in particular, because people mean well, but life gets busy. And if you say, oh, thank you, all right, I don't know right now, but we'll catch up for sure, nothing will happen. But if you ask for one specific thing, 99% of the time, they're gonna help you with that thing. So I said, can you introduce me to Reese Witherspoon? And she said, oh, I don't know her. And I said, okay, well, I had to try. And she said, but let me ask you this, why? I said, well, Reese Witherspoon has the second largest book club behind Oprah in the country. Reese Witherspoon owns a company that actually creates and produces films and movies off of female authored books. And Reese Witherspoon has a podcast that's getting pretty big, and it's about women empowerment. And she said, okay, I'll keep it in mind, but and give me your number. She said, if anything else comes up, I'm going to help you out any way I can. Wonderful person. I leave. I'm still in LA. 24 hours later, I'm doing another show, and I'm waiting in the green room. And my phone buzzes. It's Maria Menounos. And I said, hello? And she said, guess what? Reese Witherspoon just called me. And these are those moments that you think putting things out into the universe and really, being your true self and being vulnerable and transparent and asking for what you want and letting people know. In my past, I would have thought, that's crazy. I can't let them know I want that because it's really not going to happen and I could fail and that's embarrassing. But instead, really owning that fear and asking for the help, she said, Heather, this is not normal. I've lived here, 20 years or whatever. This woman just called me. She wants to meet with me Friday, as in tomorrow, actually. And she said 1 week later, and I need you to send me a book written out to her. And I need you that morning to remind me on text, hey, don't forget when you get in there, please try to discuss this. She said, and I promise you, I am going to do that. And it's those moments to me that make me realize being your true self, believing in yourself, asking for help, all of these things really come full circle. And I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow with her, but I do know this. I just know more meaningful, positive things are going to keep coming if I keep doing that next true thing for me.
That's awesome.
Is there a series, so like in building confidence and going and getting what you want, is there like some common pitfalls you see people fall in that's like keeping them from doing these things?
For sure. There's a million that I've experienced. And for me personally, fear has been the biggest holdback my entire life that I've created, because fear is a liar. It's not real. It's in your mind. It's literally like a lens, like a rose-colored glass, but it's the opposite. You're looking at worst case scenario and then you hang on to it and you don't move forward. In those moments, it's like seeing a girl at a bar that you want to talk to and you're there and you're back and forth, but you just run away. That chips away at your confidence terribly, because the next time you're in a situation, you've learned, if I get really scared, run. And instead, you need to retrain yourself. And the way I've done it is saying, okay, if I walk up to this person and speak to them and they throw a drink in my face, am I still alive? Yes. Okay. Will they probably throw a drink in my face? Probably not. If they say no to me, what do I know about that? Well, I've been in sales and I know getting a lot of no's means you're eventually going to get a yes, but it's all a numbers game. So, you could ask 90 people out on a date and the 100 person's going to say yes, but you'll never get there if you give up at 90. Same thing with selling a book or pitching people on anything. So I try to really flip the fear around and take it down a notch. And then once you do that one time, that's it, one baby step time, you use that as the building block that you start leaning back on. Instead of those 20 years of fear stop me, now all I think about is that one time I leaned into the fear. I didn't get a drink thrown at me. I didn't get, I came out the other side, didn't get what I want. But now, you know what? I can do it again. And that's what has led me to bringing that book forward and really starting to lean into fear instead of run away from it, because everything you want truly is on that other side.
What else can you say to someone like maybe I'm training myself in that fear and I want to be able to take that step? Is it as simple as just do it, or?
Well, I think it's about, again, baby steps, building success stories, recording things, because we always forget, right? So you do something in this moment. So when I got fired, I went back and looked at old tape of me, and I started realizing I used to be so nervous to get up on a stage in front of 20 people. And now I can get up on a stage in front of hundreds of people. And my nephew reminded me of that one day. He saw my Insta story. I was going into a large speaking engagement, and he wrote me, "Auntie, are you so scared?" And it was so cool because he had never spoke in front of any audience. Let me tell you this. The first time I spoke in front of an audience was in front of me, in front of a mirror, right? Like, you have to practice and it's not overnight and someone snaps their fingers and this is all a miracle. It's all about these little steps, about practicing, setting yourself up for success, flipping the fear around, building some wins and recording them so you don't forget. And Instagram, social media is a great way to look back on those moments. One other way that I randomly found that was super powerful for me, my son is obsessed with YouTube, as I'm sure your kids are, right? He handed me his computer one night when he was getting ready for bed, and I looked at it, and it served up a video on Eddie Murphy. Random. So I thought, well, that shouldn't be coming to my son. I want to see what's going on. What is he watching?
Yeah.
And it was an Eddie Murphy, David Letterman first interview ever. and the guy was sweating bullets and he couldn't talk. You have to watch this video. But we know Eddie Murphy as like one of the largest comedians, beyond confident, etc. So I thought, oh my, I can't believe he was like this. So I watched the next one, and they showed the next David Letterman, Eddie Murphy interview. And he didn't sweat in that one, still nervous. And then the next one, didn't sweat and seemed cool. Fast forward 10 more, the guy was like leaning over, sunglasses on. He was so confident. And that reminded me, you know what? We are all the same. We are all nervous the first time we do something. And we can remind ourselves that we can all get to that end goal we have. We just can't give up. So those are the fear things for me that I really hold on to.
So I want to shift gears to something a little bit different. So I've kind of been obsessed with like this idea of successful people's morning routines or their routines in general. So I've just like tried to soak up and read as much of this for years and years. So I'm curious, do you have a morning routine or a routine or something that you do on a regular basis that you feel like really helps you?
I change what city I'm in. I travel a lot, so I don't have one committed routine, but I will say this. I invest in me and I put myself first every flipping day. And that means, I've seen a tremendous amount of people say, well, I can't do this or make that trip because my child, and then they sit around the house, well, my life is miserable. They become a victim in their life, and that drives me nuts. So instead, I decided a while ago, I'm going to put myself first, and I love my kid so much. And no matter what city I am in, I FaceTime him, I connect with him. And when he says, you're gone too long, I say, I appreciate your support. You know what I'm working for. And, we got to stick. We're a team. Let's hang in this together. So that's part of the routine, no matter where I am, is to connect with him. And the other thing for me is working out, taking care of myself. It shows me I'm worth something. I am worth it. And I feel better. And my energy is higher. I meditate whenever I can, usually on planes because it's so powerful. I journal all of the time, and that really helps me. And sometimes I just use an Insta story as an example to record 20 pictures in a row to show me, it's really for me, here's where I was at this moment and look where I went, like the Eddie Murphy example for myself. Yep. So those are sort of just the important things for me to do on a day-to-day basis.
That's awesome. So you look back, you find like this gratitude of where you came from, where you are now is a big part of
just having an attitude of gratitude is super important because we can all get down. Today I had a negative call about something and just received a negative email. You can focus on that, or you can say, I'm so grateful to meet new people today and get a new opportunity, and I showed up. And all of those things are things to be grateful for, right? And it's really what you choose to focus on and what you choose to, let go and deal with and just move through.
So for women out there that are maybe going through the same thing that you went through, and not necessarily a firing, but just they're in that state where they can't seem to figure out a way out, advice for them?
So one of the things that I talk about in my book for those moments when it hits the fan is to create a 30-day plan. It's really important not to look too far out because when you're emotional, if you think 5 years from now, you think, I'm going to be alone forever and homeless. And we all think crazy when we're in that bad mental state. So what I've learned is it's important to separate from emotion, but you can't do that too fast. It's not realistic. So I literally write out a piece of paper with 30 squares, starting with day one, and I cross off each day. And I did this when I got fired. I did this when my son broke his leg. This is when you're really in the throes of a tough situation. How can you manage it? And each day I write down things I'm grateful for, things I've accomplished, and things that showed up I didn't know were going to happen. And when you look back a week or 2 weeks in, you start saying, I never knew this opportunity was going to arise. And I'm so glad I didn't try to focus on 5 years and instead this manageable window. Also, you know where you're starting from on day one, and you can start to envision where you're going to be on day 30. And it might not be exactly the way you planned, but that manifesting your future and that vision is going to help you get there.
That's awesome. That's great advice.
Yeah, this has been a great conversation. Can you tell us where we can find you? Where can people find the book?
Sure. So I'm at Heather Monahan on all social media. I'm Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere. And my website, heathermonahan.com. And my book is exclusively on Amazon. I've got Kindle, paperback, hardback, and audio, which I'm the voice of. And that's the craziest thing ever.
Wow. The whole book?
Yes. It's insane. It's insane.
Well, this has been awesome, Heather. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it so much, guys.
Thank you.
For more episodes, visit innovationcity.co. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're in Miami, visit us on Thursday nights. Details are at venturecafemiami.org. And be sure to connect with us on social at We Are Slam and at Venture Cafe MIA. Thanks for listening.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams